Nobody walks into a grocery store expecting the last 5 minutes to feel like a part-time job. But there you are, scanning, bagging, weighing the produce, typing in a code you don't know, waiting for the machine to decide whether it believes you, clearing an error that wasn't your fault. And somewhere in all of it, a light is blinking, and a stranger in a vest is walking over, and the people behind you are watching, and the machine is talking to you like you caused the problem. The strange thing is that self-checkout was supposed to feel modern, efficient, almost liberating, fewer lines, faster transactions, the future of retail, right there in the cereal aisle. Instead, it often feels slow, tense, and vaguely humiliating. And that feeling is not a glitch, it is the design. Let's go back. In 1986, an inventor named David Humble filed a patent for a self-service checkout system. He called it a revolutionary product. A year later, Kroger was already running a test in Atlanta, where one cashier could oversee 3 automatic aisles. 3 aisles, 1 person, and shoppers doing the scanning themselves. The space of 2 old lanes, the labor of a fraction of the staff. By 1998, a company called NCR deployed the first fully commercial self-checkout system in a grocery store in Lenexa, Kansas. Their pitch was simple: shorter lines, shopper freedom, a queue buster. They said customers would get the hang of it after 1 or 2 times through. That line is worth sitting with. 1 or 2 times through. From the very beginning, the industry knew the machine required retraining. It required customers to learn a new skill, and they framed that as a minor inconvenience on the way to convenience. By 2021, it wasn't niche anymore. 30% of grocery transactions ran through self-checkout. 96% of surveyed retailers said they offered it. The revolution had arrived, more or less. Except it didn't feel like a revolution, it felt like work. Here is what actually happened. The machine didn't remove the work, it moved the work. Scanning, bagging, error recovery, produce codes, age verification, all of that used to belong to paid employees. Now it belongs to you. You became the cashier, the bagger, and the first line of tech support. And the worker who remained didn't disappear. She became a monitor, a fixer, and a referee. Her job got harder, just in a different way. A labor researcher named Christopher Andrews put it plainly: self-checkout displaced specific tasks onto customers while workers shifted into supervision and exception handling. That is not a metaphor. That is a description of where the actual labor went. And here is the part that makes it sting. You are doing this unpaid work while paying full price, sometimes more than full price, because shrinkflation and grocery inflation have been running hot for years. You are the cashier, and you are also the customer. You are doing their job, and you are paying for the privilege. Now let's talk about why it feels bad in your body, not just on paper. Self-checkout doesn't just take your time, it takes your composure. There is a particular kind of stress that comes from performing a task in public while people watch and wait. Every error message is a small humiliation. Every flashing light is a small accusation. You didn't bag it right, you didn't wait. Unexpected item in the bagging area, the machine says it calmly, and somehow that makes it worse. Researchers at Drexel University found that regular cashier checkout made shoppers more loyal to the store than self-checkout did. People who used staffed lanes felt rewarded. People who used self-checkout felt like they had exerted more effort for less in return. A separate study found that cashiers process transactions roughly 100 seconds faster than customers do at self-checkout in the settings they examined. 100 seconds. That is almost 2 minutes gone, while you stood there doing a job you weren't hired to do. And yet 67% of consumers said a self-checkout kiosk had failed on them. More than 2 out of 3 people have experienced the machine breaking down mid-transaction, mid-bag, mid-scan. The machine doesn't trust you, and it also doesn't work reliably. That combination is uniquely demoralizing. Now here is where it gets darker, because the store has a problem too, and it turns out that problem is also your problem. Self-checkout was sold to retailers as an efficiency win. Fewer labor hours per transaction, more throughput for small baskets, tighter use of floor space. And in the short term, the math looked good. But then the hidden bill arrived: theft. or in retail language, shrink. The National Retail Federation reported a 93% increase in the average number of shoplifting incidents in 2023 compared to 2019. NCR's own research suggested that a grocer running a quarter of its sales through self-checkout could see roughly 0.25% of additional sales lost to shrink on top of its existing losses. That sounds small until you run the numbers across thousands of stores. Wegmans shut down its Scan and Go mobile checkout program in 2022. The CEO, Colleen Wegmans, cited losses. Target limited self-checkout to 10 items or fewer after a pilot found that the restriction made checkout twice as fast because it stopped full carts from clogging machines built for small runs. Dollar General said out loud that self-checkout had become a primary checkout vehicle when it should have been a secondary one, and then converted roughly 12,000 stores away from it by the middle of 2024. 12,000 stores. That is not a tweak, that is a reckoning. And while the retailers were discovering the limits of their own system, the workers were absorbing something else. The Shift Project at Harvard surveyed more than 14,000 workers across 135 large service sector firms. In stores with self-checkout, 61% of workers reported their location was always or often understaffed. In stores without self-checkout, that number was 52%. And in the stores where workers said they were always understaffed, 25% reported being often or always bullied by customers. In fully staffed stores, that number was 11%. The machine didn't just move labor, it stretched the labor that remained. Fewer people, more ground to cover, more frustrated customers to manage, more interventions, more blame with nowhere to go except sideways. This is not a grocery story, this is an American story. There is a pattern that keeps appearing in modern American life, and self-checkout is one of the clearest examples of it. Human assistance gets thinner, systems get more brittle, customers are told the friction is freedom, and the people who work those jobs, the ones who remain, absorb the difference quietly. The Bureau of Labor Statistics counted roughly 3.1 million cashier jobs in 2024. That number is projected to fall by around 313,000 by 2034. Self-service technology is listed as one of the reasons. So the experiment has a real cost, not just in your time and composure, in someone else's livelihood, in the quality of someone else's day, in the particular kind of stress that comes from being one person covering 3 aisles, while a light blinks somewhere and a customer is already angry about it. And here's the thing that should bother you most of all. Despite all of this, self-checkout is still spreading. 217,000 terminals were delivered globally in 2023, a record year. 35% of supermarket transactions ran through self-checkout in 2024. The experiment is not being abandoned, it is being refined. Because from a certain perspective, it worked. Not the way they sold it to you, but it worked. The burden moved, the cost moved, the frustration moved, and the price tag stayed exactly where it was. Self-checkout never feels faster because speed was only part of the pitch. The deeper function was to normalize a world where you do more, the worker covers more, and the company calls all of it convenience. The machine didn't replace the cashier, it replaced you with one.